to another fantastic video. Today we're going to be looking at the structure and function of local, state, and federal governments, focusing specifically on the state and the federal government. So let's get to it. So first of all, in our federal government, we know that we have three different branches. We have separation of powers. We have a legislative branch, an executive branch, and a judicial branch, okay? And in our federal government, the legislative branch is Congress. Congress is made up, of course, of the House and the Senate, and their job is to make laws. In our federal government, we have the executive branch, which includes the president, the vice president, and the cabinet, and their job is to enforce or execute the laws. And then we have our judicial branch, which includes all of our federal courts, the Supreme Court and other lower federal courts. And their job, of course, is to interpret laws. So we have that same system at the state level, okay? Our state government has a legislative branch, but our legislative branch is called the General Assembly. And just like the federal legislative branch, the General Assembly is bicameral, which means we have a House of Representatives and a Senate. So we have people that represent us in the federal House of Representatives and the federal Senate. And then we also have people that represent us in the state Senate and the state House of Representatives. Okay. In our executive branch, same function as the federal executive branch. Their job is to enforce the laws, but we have the governor and the lieutenant governor and people like the secretary of state and the state treasurer and all those state level executive branch officials. Again, their job, just like at the federal level, is to execute the laws. We also have state courts. So we have the Missouri Supreme Court, and then we have Missouri appellate courts, and we have Missouri circuit courts, and they have the same job as the federal judicial branch does. Their job is to interpret and apply the laws. So in our federal system that we have, there are some pros and cons. So some pros of federalism, some good things about it as our system of government. The size of the nation is basically one of the huge reasons that federalism works really well for us. Because our country is so large, there's no way for one national government to effectively make all decisions for every state and every citizen because we're just too big. We have way too many people in order for that type of system to work. So balancing and dividing that power of government is what works best for us. We also are able to use the states as laboratories. So whenever you think of a laboratory, you probably think of a scientist in a white coat with test tubes and all that kind of stuff. But whenever we're talking about the states as laboratories, we're talking about the states as places where we can kind of see how certain laws or policies or decisions might play out at a smaller level. And then we could, as a country, maybe adopt those same policies at a national level. And we'll talk about some of those in class. We also have a very diverse country. We have people from all walks of life, all different ideas and ideologies, and the federalist system that we use allows for all of those diverse populations to have a voice. There are some cons, though, of federalism. So it's not all rainbows and sunshine. But one of the cons of federalism is the potential for the emergence of factions. And a faction is a group of people who have ideas that might not be good for everybody else. So we might have a faction pop up in one part of the country, and then they might be able to further their ideas because they are a growing faction, and maybe there are lots of people in that part of the country that feel the same way that they do. We also run into the possibility for inequalities among the states. So one state might have, based on where they are geographically, might have access to more trade opportunities or more manufacturing opportunities than other states do. So just potential inequalities are also some cons of federalism. So I am going to stop there. And if you guys have any questions, let me know.